People learn how to treat you by watching what you tolerate, not by what you say, not by what you demand, but by what you repeatedly accept. Every time you laugh when you are hurt, you teach someone that your pain is negotiable. Every time you say yes when your soul is screaming no, you teach someone that your boundaries can be bought. Every time you chase someone who keeps walking away, you teach them that your presence is something they never have to earn. And hear me clearly. You are teaching people your worth every single day, sometimes without saying a word, sometimes through your silence, sometimes through your desperation, and sometimes through the courage it takes to finally walk away. Your worth does not decrease because someone fails to recognize it, but your behavior can teach people whether they are allowed to disrespect it. So today, I want you to look at yourself honestly, not with shame, not with bitterness, but with courage. Because there are behaviors you must release if you want people to understand that your heart, your time, your peace, and your presence are valuable. Life will teach you this lesson slowly. People will come into your life carrying promises. Some will stay. Some will leave, some will love you sincerely, others will only love what they can receive from you. And if you are not careful, you can spend years proving yourself to people who were never qualified to judge your value. You will over-explain, you will over-give, you will over-apologize, you will keep showing up for people who barely notice when you disappear. But there comes a moment when you must stop asking, why don't they value me? And start asking, what am I teaching them about how I deserve to be treated? That question can change your life because your worth is not something you beg another human being to recognize. Your worth is something you protect with boundaries, with discipline, with self-respect, with faith, and sometimes with distance. You do not have to become cold. You do not have to become cruel. You do not have to stop loving people. You simply have to stop abandoning yourself in order to keep them. One of the quietest ways you teach people to undervalue you is by constantly explaining yourself. You explain why you said no. You explain why you need space. You explain why something hurt you. You explain why you cannot keep carrying what is breaking your back. You explain your choices. You explain your silence. You explain your boundaries. And sometimes you explain so much that you forget. You were never on trial. Listen to me. You do not need a courtroom to justify every boundary you create. You do not need permission to protect your peace. You do not need everybody to understand your decision before you make it. And you certainly do not need to convince someone that your feelings are real. Your feelings are real because you experienced them. Your exhaustion is real because you carried the weight. Your pain is real because you survived it. Stop handing people the authority to decide whether your experience is valid. Some people will misunderstand you because misunderstanding you gives them an excuse not to respect you. Let them misunderstand. You know your heart. God knows your intentions. That is enough. There comes a time in life when you must become comfortable with being misunderstood, because if your entire life is built around making everybody understand you, you will spend your life performing instead of living. You will keep talking, keep defending, keep proving, keep explaining, and while you are busy trying to make everybody comfortable with your choices, your own peace will be disappearing. There is strength in saying, "This is what I have decided," and leaving it there. No argument, no performance. No begging, no 20-minute explanation, no desperate attempt to make somebody approve of your boundary. You said no. No is enough. You need rest. Rest is enough. You need distance. Distant is enough. Something hurt you. That matters. You do not have to build a case file just to earn the right to protect yourself. And understand this. People who genuinely respect you may ask questions because they care. But people who benefit from your lack of boundaries may question you because your boundaries inconvenience them. There is a difference. Learn it, because the moment you stop over-explaining, some people may accuse you of changing. They may say you are becoming cold. They may say you think you are better than them. They may say, you used to be different, and perhaps you were. Perhaps you were easier to manipulate. Perhaps you were afraid of disappointing people. Perhaps you confused kindness with self-abandonment. Perhaps you thought keeping everyone happy was your responsibility, but growth changes that. Growth teaches you that peace is not selfish. Growth teaches you that boundaries are not hatred. Growth teaches you that silence can be wisdom. Your life is not a public debate. You do not owe everyone access to your private decisions. You do not owe everyone a detailed explanation of your next move, and sometimes the most powerful answer is no answer at all. Let your actions speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your character speak. Let time reveal what your words never could. Because the older you become, the more you understand that peace sometimes begins when you stop trying to convince people who have already decided not to understand. You do not need to chase understanding. You need to protect your peace. You need to honor your values. You need to walk forward with faith. And when you know that your decision is right for your life, stand firm, not with arrogance, not with anger, but with quiet confidence, because you are not here to spend your entire life explaining your existence. You are here to live it. The second behavior is constantly making yourself available. Everybody calls. You answer. Everybody needs something. You provide. Everybody has a crisis. You become the rescue team. Somebody needs advice. You give it. Somebody needs money. You find a way. Somebody needs emotional support at midnight. You wake up. Somebody needs you to fix a problem they created themselves. You show up. Again and again and again. But when you need somebody, silence. When your heart is tired, nobody notices. When you are struggling, the same people who were so comfortable calling you suddenly become unavailable. And still, you keep showing up. Why? Because somewhere along the way, you confused being needed with being valued. They are not the same thing. Ride that again in your heart. Being needed is not the same as being valued. Some people appreciate what you provide more than they appreciate who you are. They don't miss you. They miss what you do for them. They don't miss your presence. They miss your availability. They don't miss your heart. They miss the convenience of having access to it. And that distinction matters, because if you are not careful, you will become exhausted trying to prove that you are a good person. You will keep giving because you are afraid that if you stop giving, people will stop loving you. But love that depends on your constant sacrifice is not healthy love. You are allowed to have limits. You are allowed to have a life outside of everybody else's emergencies. You need boundaries around your time, your energy, your attention, your emotional capacity, your peace, because every yes costs you something. Sometimes it costs an hour. Sometimes it costs sleep. Sometimes it costs focus. Sometimes it costs your mental and emotional strength. And sometimes it costs you the very energy you needed to build your own future. You cannot pour from an empty soul and call it love. There will be days when you must say, not today. There will be moments when you must let the phone ring. There will be situations where you must say, I cannot help with this. And there will be people you love whom you simply cannot rescue. That does not make you selfish. It makes you human. You are not God. You are not responsible for fixing every broken person. You are not responsible for carrying every burden. You cannot solve every problem, and you were never asked to. Some lessons belong to other people. Some consequences belong to other people. Some battles are not yours to fight. Let people experience the results of their choices. You can love them without carrying them. You can pray for them without destroying yourself for them. You can care without becoming consumed. That is maturity. That is discipline. And discipline means understanding that your purpose requires energy. You have dreams that need your attention. You have gifts that need development. You have a future that requires preparation. You have a calling that requires focus. So ask yourself, if I spend all of my energy carrying everybody else's problems, who will carry me toward the life I was meant to build? Nobody can do that work for you. There comes a time when you must protect the energy God gave you, not because you have stopped caring about people, but because you finally understand that your purpose matters too. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot save everyone. You cannot answer every call. You cannot solve every crisis, and you were never asked to. Sometimes saying no to someone else is saying yes to your future, yes to your healing, yes to your growth, yes to your peace, yes to your purpose. And when you finally learn that lesson, you stop feeling guilty for having boundaries. You stop apologizing for needing rest. You stop believing that your worth depends on how useful you are to everyone else. You begin to understand something powerful. You are valuable even when you are not doing anything for anybody. Your worth is not measured by how many people can reach you. Your worth is not measured by how many problems you can solve. Your worth is not measured by how exhausted you become serving others. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back, breathe, pray, and protect the person you are becoming, because you have a life to live, and that life deserves some of the energy you have been giving away. Stop chasing people who keep showing you that they do not want to stay. This one hurts, because sometimes you love people deeply, not casually, not conveniently deeply. You remember their good days. You remember the laughter. You remember the conversations that lasted until morning. You remember the moments when they made you feel seen. You remember who they were before everything changed. And sometimes that is what keeps you trapped. You are not chasing the person they are today. You are chasing the person they used to be. You are chasing a memory. You are chasing a version of them that may no longer exist. And you keep telling yourself, maybe they will come back. Maybe they will change. Maybe they will finally understand. But listen carefully. A relationship cannot survive on memories alone. Love needs presence. Love needs effort. Love needs consistency. Love needs two people who are willing to choose each other. You cannot build a future with somebody who is constantly walking away from the present. If someone repeatedly walks away, stop running behind them. If someone repeatedly ignores you, stop begging for attention. If someone only values you when you are leaving, pay attention. That behavior is telling you something, and you have to be brave enough to listen. People reveal themselves through patterns, not promises. Parts anybody can promise. Anybody can apologize. Anybody can say, I will do better. But eventually, behavior tells the truth. Watch what people repeatedly do. Watch how they treat you when they are angry. Watch how they treat you when they no longer need something from you. Watch whether their actions match their words, and then believe what you see. Not what you hope, not what you imagine, not what you wish they would become. Believe the pattern, because hope is beautiful. But hope without wisdom can keep you standing at a door that God may be asking you to leave. Walking away does not mean you stopped caring. Sometimes walking away means you finally started caring about yourself. Sometimes you have to release someone you still love. Sometimes you have to stop knocking on a door that nobody is opening. Sometimes you have to accept that closure may not come from another person's explanation. Sometimes closure comes from your own decision. I will not keep hurting myself trying to make this work. And yes, you may cry. Let the tears come. You are not weak because something mattered to you. You are not weak because you missed someone. You are not weak because you still remember the good. You are human. But do not let your memories become chains. There is a kind of loneliness that destroys you. And there is another kind of loneliness that rebuilds you. The second kind happens when you choose solitude over disrespect. When you sit alone and cry. When you pray alone. When you eat alone. When you rebuild alone. When you wake up and realize that nobody is coming to rescue you, and somehow you discover that you can still rise. That is where strength begins. You discover that your own company is not a punishment. It is preparation for better relationships. Preparation for better decisions. Preparation for a stronger version of yourself. God can use your lonely season to teach you what crowds never could. He can teach you patience, discernment, self-respect, faith. He can teach you that losing access to someone does not mean losing your future. You may lose people, but you may find yourself. You may lose a relationship, but you may find your peace. You may lose someone's attention, but you may rediscover your purpose. And that is not always a loss. Sometimes it is the beginning of choosing yourself, the beginning of trusting God, the beginning of walking forward without looking back every 5 minutes. Because when you stop chasing people who keep choosing distance, you finally create space for the people, opportunities, and purpose that are willing to meet you halfway. And sometimes the person you have been desperately trying to keep was never meant to be kept. Sometimes they were meant to teach you. And sometimes the lesson is simple. Never abandon yourself trying to keep someone who keeps abandoning you. Never let love become an excuse for disrespect. Love is not permission. Forgiveness is not permission. History is not permission. And knowing someone for 10 years does not give them 10 years of access to mistreat you. You can love somebody deeply and still say, you cannot speak to me that way. You can forgive someone and still keep your distance. You can pray for somebody and still refuse to let them destroy your peace. That is not hatred. That is maturity. That is strength. That is wisdom. Because too many people have been taught that love means enduring everything. Be patient. Be quiet. Keep forgiving. Keep accepting. Keep giving another chance and another. But there comes a point when another chance becomes another invitation for the same wound. You must learn the difference between forgiveness and permission. Forgiveness releases you from carrying hatred. It does not require you to reopen the door to someone who keeps hurting you. You can forgive without returning. You can love without allowing access. You can wish someone well without giving them another opportunity to break your heart. That is a powerful kind of freedom. Too many people think being strong means enduring everything quietly. No, sometimes strength is leaving the room. Sometimes strength is ending the conversation. Sometimes strength is refusing to argue with someone who only wants to provoke you. Sometimes strength is putting down the phone. Sometimes strength is walking away without getting the last word. And sometimes strength is refusing to return to the place that broke you. Do not confuse patience with permission. You can be patient without being passive. You can be kind without being weak. You can have a soft heart and a strong boundary. Your heart does not need to become hard. Your standards need to become clear. There is a difference. You do not need to become bitter. You need to become wiser. You do not need to stop loving. You need to stop allowing love to become an excuse for self-abandonment. Because when you repeatedly accept disrespect, people stop seeing it as an exception. They begin seeing it as your standard. The first time someone crosses a boundary, perhaps they made a mistake. The second time, you have information. The third time, you have a pattern. And when you keep accepting the pattern, you teach them that there are no consequences for how they treat you. That is why boundaries matter. Not because you want to control people, but because you must control what you allow into your life. You cannot control how someone speaks. You cannot control how someone behaves. You cannot control whether someone respects you, but you can control whether you remain available for disrespect. That is where your power lives. And sometimes people will become angry when you finally establish boundaries. Let them. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries may not celebrate your growth. Let them misunderstand. Let them complain. Let them say you have changed. Maybe you have. Maybe you finally realize that peace is worth protecting. Maybe you finally realize that your heart is not a public playground. Maybe you finally realize that love should not require you to lose yourself. And listen, you deserve better than constant disrespect. Not because you are better than anyone else, not because you are perfect, not because you have never made mistakes, but because every human being deserves dignity, including you. You deserve conversations where you are heard, relationships where you are respected, love that does not require you to shrink, friendships where your boundaries are honored, and peace that does not disappear every time somebody walks into the room. So stop apologizing for having standards. Stop feeling guilty for protecting your heart. Stop calling self-respect selfishness. You can love people and still choose distance. You can forgive people and still choose wisdom. You can have compassion and still have boundaries, because a soft heart without boundaries can become wounded again and again. But a soft heart protected by wisdom, that is strength, that is maturity, that is knowing your worth without needing to announce it. And sometimes the loudest statement you can make is not an argument. It is simply this: I will not allow this anymore. Then live by it. And finally, the deepest behavior of all, stop betraying yourself just to belong. Stop changing your values because somebody might reject you. Stop shrinking your dreams because somebody feels threatened by them. Stop pretending you are okay when you are not. Stop smiling when your heart is begging you to be honest. Stop becoming smaller so someone else can feel bigger, because there is a price to being accepted by the wrong people. And sometimes you do not recognize the price until you have already paid it. You may gain their approval but lose your identity. You may keep the relationship but lose your peace. You may stay in the room but slowly disappear from yourself. And that is too expensive. No relationship is worth losing your soul. No friendship is worth abandoning your values. No crowd is worth silencing your voice. No approval is worth becoming someone you do not recognize when you look in the mirror. Listen carefully. You were not born to spend your entire life performing for acceptance. You were born with purpose. Your life has purpose. Your voice has purpose. Your story has purpose. Even the parts of your story you wish you could erase may be carrying a lesson you will one day use to help somebody else survive. The wounds you survived were not proof that you were forgotten. They were chapters, not the entire book. You have been hurt. But you are not only hurt, you have been rejected, but rejection does not define you. You have failed, but failure does not name you. You have been misunderstood, but misunderstanding does not erase your truth. So stand up, not loudly, not arrogantly, just firmly. Stand in who you are, now what you believe, now what you value, now what you will tolerate, and know what you will no longer tolerate. There will be people who do not like the person you are becoming. Let them walk away. There will be people who call you difficult because you finally learned to say no. Let them talk. There will be people who call you distant because you stopped giving everyone unlimited access to you. Let them misunderstand. There will be people who say, You have changed. Maybe you have. Maybe that is the point. You are supposed to change. You are supposed to grow. You are supposed to become wiser, stronger, more disciplined, more peaceful, more honest with yourself. Growth means you no longer fit into places where the old version of you once felt comfortable. And that is okay. You do not have to remain the same person simply because someone else prefers the version of you they could control. Become who you are meant to become. Even if it disappoints people, even if it requires you to walk alone for a season, even if you have to rebuild your life from the ground up. Because there comes a moment when you realize that acceptance without authenticity is another form of loneliness. You can be surrounded by people and still be completely lost, or you can stand alone and finally feel at home inside yourself. And one day you will understand that the greatest act of self-respect was not convincing people of your worth. It was finally living like you already knew it. You stop begging, you stop chasing, you stop explaining, you stop accepting crumbs, you stop abandoning yourself, and you begin walking differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. Not because you think you are better than anyone, but because you finally understand that your life is precious, your time is precious, your peace is precious, your heart is precious, your purpose is precious, and precious things are protected. So protect your peace. Protect your values, protect your dreams, protect the person you are becoming. You do not need everybody to understand you. You do not need everybody to approve of you. You do not need everybody to stay. You only need the courage to remain true to yourself when everybody else is asking you to become somebody you are not. And when that courage rises inside you, do not silence it, listen. Because sometimes the voice telling you to finally choose yourself is the very voice you have spent years teaching yourself to ignore.